Allah brought me to Qatar for this purpose, to that I would finish my search and spend the remaining days of my life worshipping Him through the means of Prophet Muhammad. May the mercy and blessings of God be upon him. Allah's ways are not ours and He knows best. In fact, with the unfolding events in my life here in Qatar, I see the magnificent way in which Allah has woven the path that has given me the opportunity to do so. Led to Him. In 2009, the company that brought me to Qatar had encountered difficulties and began to fire people, giving them options to look for other jobs. How I ended up at the company I work for today, it is also one of the pleasant surprises that Allah had in store for me. The way I transitioned from my previous company to the current one was very rapid. The institution I am working in is an Islamic institution governed by Sharia, Islamic law, and the department to which I belong has given me the opportunity to have the job of my dreams, corporate communication. How was immersed in the preparation of newsletters and marketing tools, had to be in contact with the corporate values anchored in the orientation of the Sharia, which led me to read more deeply about Islam. At that point I found myself enjoying what I was doing and I read anything that fell into my mind. In early 2010 I met a Filipino Muslim. There was never any discussion about our religion. He knew how much I prayed with my rosary and book of novenas. He said that in his family too there were Muslims and Christians. Assured me that I shouldn't feel uncomfortable about it. I found in him the characteristics I was looking for. The idea his relationship was the same as mine. Thus, religion has never been a problem and we both respected our beliefs. I once went to the Fanar, Qatar's Islamic Cultural Center, with my boss during the calligraphy art exhibition to acquire some items to our company. I obtained a copy of the book The Ideal Muslim Woman and I started reading 3 months later, when my fiancé was not in Qatar. Felt that the verses of the Quran spoke directly to me. While reading the qualities of the ideal Muslim, I realized that my way of life was in conformity to the teachings of Islam, after all. So, I got a copy of the Quran in Tagalog and I felt an irresistible peace in my heart, which made me brought tears. I told myself that at the right time I had to go in search for Islam. I sought guidance from the Sharia department and my well-meaning colleagues about which reading materials to choose. I searched the web and read everything I could. Until one day, I stopped. I stopped seeking knowledge because I didn't want to do anything until I saw my fiancé who had just returned from the Philippines. Although he did not raise the question about my religion, I told myself that I had to deliberate whether was it just being influenced by his presence in my life or if it was embracing Islam by choice. From the depths of my heart and my soul, at that time when I stopped delving into my studies, I went through a crisis too. The problems kept piling up and I was confused about how to pray. He was to pray with the rosary and devotions or he had to do the Salat, the prayer made by the Muslims, which did not have the slightest idea of how to execute. For months I was in limbo, until one night I woke up, talked to God, and said, "Oh my God, I'm confused. I don't know how anymore I must pray. Read my heart, I submit to you." After that, I felt a certain peace. God's care began. My fiancé went home in the Philippines earlier than planned. My God gave the time that for my discernment. Didn't expect the day when a big tsunami hit Japan would be the day I would take my Shahada, testimony of faith, pronounced that I became a Muslim. I just felt that my heart was very quiet. I went to the Fanar with the conviction of attending classes in Islam Basic. That attitude came when I was finally able to respond to the final questions I had for myself. First, if my fiancé and I don't, if we ended up together, would I be able to remain a Muslim? When I died, how would my family dispose of my remains? And then I saw in my Muslim colleagues and I felt a certain spirit of community. I told myself that I could lose a person, but I would gain more. Second, by that Muslim men were allowed to marry up to 4 wives? They don't know how painful it is for one woman to have another woman who is preferred over her. This question remained unanswered for several months until that day when I prepared to go to the Fanner. In fact, this question always prevented me from fully accepting the readings I had done about Islam and hoped to have it answered when I had the opportunity to attend classes at Fanar. Finally, that morning when I was preparing for the Fanner, I asked another round of questions in my mind. Would feeling jealous or envious lead me away from Allah? Something so mundane me would prevent you from knowing Allah? I myself did not answer. Instead, I ran preparing to leave. That action was already the answer. Upon arriving at the Fanner, I had the opportunity to have conversations with 2 of her mentors, Sister Zara and Sister Maryam. The desire to my heart began to reveal itself. Sister Maryam said I looked be ready. When she asked me if I would like to do the Shahada, I responded by saying, was there anyone who could administer it for me? More once, that feeling of certainty, it wasn't about yes or no, it's about the availability of someone who could manage it for me. After I said the Shahada, tears flowed. When Sister Maryam hugged me and told me that she was already a Muslim, I thanked her with tears. My immediate family welcomed me as a Muslim and I thanked Allah for that. Although they remained devout Catholics, their acceptance, support, and love helped me keep going. As for my fiancé, he was surprised by my text message minutes after I converted. He did not expect to receive such news from me. My reversion to Islam was emphasized by the Great Tsunami. Symbolically, I look at it as if Allah has washed me and cleansed from all my sins. What would happen to me if I hadn't surrendered to Him? Where would I be?